You believe awareness makes you equal to others. It doesn't. Awareness creates hierarchy, and if you don't know your position, you are already operating beneath those who do. Chapter 1. The Illusion of Equality. You were trained to believe that awareness makes people equal, that insight, education, or intelligence somehow levels the field. This belief is comforting and completely false. Equality exists only as an idea used to keep order. In reality, awareness does not flatten hierarchies, it creates them. The moment two people perceive the same situation differently, a hierarchy forms. One sees more, one acts sooner, one controls outcomes, the other reacts. Most people never question this because questioning it would expose their position. They prefer the myth of equality because it protects the ego from a harsher truth. Human interaction is not cooperative by default, it is positional. Every room you enter has invisible ranks determined by perception, restraint, timing, and foresight. These ranks are not assigned by titles or money alone. They are enforced moment by awareness. The illusion survives because it is socially rewarded. Those who claim we're all the same appear virtuous, fair, and safe, but safety is not power. In fact, the insistence on equality often signals low awareness, an inability to detect hierarchy even while being shaped by it. People who truly see the structure do not announce it, they navigate it silently. Awareness is not about knowing facts, it is about seeing patterns before others recognize they exist. It is the ability to read intent behind words, consequences behind actions, and leverage behind emotion. When awareness differs, influence follows. One person understands the game, the other believes there is no game. That asymmetry is where dominance lives. Look closely at any social setting, workplace, family, negotiation, conflict. The most influential person is rarely the loudest or most visible. It is often the one who speaks last, reacts least, and observes most. That person is not equal to the rest of the room. They are positioned above it, not by force, but by perception. While others are expressing, they are extracting. While others are signaling emotion, they are calculating response. The illusion of equality collapses the moment pressure is applied. In crisis, disagreement, or competition, hierarchy becomes obvious. Some people freeze, some seek validation, some look for permission, others move decisively without asking. That difference is not personality, it is awareness under stress, and awareness under stress determines rank. Society discourages this understanding because it destabilizes comfort. If people accepted that awareness creates hierarchy, they would be forced to confront their own level. They would have to ask uncomfortable questions. What do I miss? Where am I reactive? Who sees more than I do? Most would rather not know, so they accept the illusion and remain manageable. This chapter is not here to elevate you yet. It is here to remove the lie. Until you abandon the belief that awareness makes everyone equal, you cannot accurately assess yourself or others. You will misread power, misunderstand intent, and overestimate safety. You will speak when you should observe, trust when you should withhold, and reveal when silence would have preserved leverage. Hierarchy is not moral, it is mechanical. It forms whether you acknowledge it or not. Those at higher levels of awareness do not hate those below them, they simply use them, shape them, or ignore them, not out of cruelty, because that is how systems operate. The first step upward is not improvement, it is recognition. You must see that awareness is not shared evenly and that your current position is the result of what you perceive, not what you believe. Once the illusion of equality is gone, the hierarchy becomes visible. And once it is visible, it becomes navigable. Chapter 2. Awareness as a weapon, not a trait. Most people treat awareness as a passive quality, something you either have or don't. They confuse it with intelligence, education, or experience. This misunderstanding keeps them harmless. Awareness is not a personality trait, it is a weaponized position. When used correctly, it grants control without confrontation and dominance without exposure. A trait is something you possess, a weapon is something you deploy. Awareness only becomes powerful when it is applied deliberately, selectively, and asymmetrically. The moment you reveal everything you see, you neutralize it. This is why the truly aware appear calm, detached, even indifferent. They are not disengaged, they are conserving leverage. Consider how most people communicate. They explain too much. They clarify motives. They reveal intentions. They believe transparency earns trust. In reality, it dissolves advantage. The less aware must speak to feel safe. The more aware remains silent to stay in control. Silence is not emptiness, it is a container of information. Whoever controls information controls direction. Awareness as a weapon works through timing. Speaking early exposes you. Speaking late positions you above the exchange. Reacting instantly hands power to the instigator. Delaying response forces others to adjust to you. This is not rudeness or aloofness, it is dominance through restraint. You are signaling that the situation does not control you, you control the situation. This is why awareness must be paired with emotion regulation. Emotional expression leaks information. It reveals priorities, insecurities, and thresholds. Those with lower awareness emote reflexively. They believe honesty is strength. In reality, uncontrolled emotion is a broadcast signal, telling others exactly how to manipulate them. The aware individual feels emotion internally but releases only what serves their position. History repeatedly confirms this. Power has never belonged to the most expressive or the most sincere. It belongs to those who observe quietly, decide privately, and act precisely. Strategists, rulers, and negotiators do not dominate by volume, they dominate by perspective. They see consequences before actions are taken and prepare responses before provocations occur. Treating awareness as a weapon also means choosing what not to see publicly. You do not react to every slight. You do not acknowledge every challenge. Recognition itself is a form of validation. Many conflicts escalate only because someone grants attention to something that could have died in silence. The aware understand this and starve threats before they grow. This is where hierarchy begins to separate visibly. Lower awareness seeks engagement. Higher awareness seeks control of outcome. One wants to be heard, the other wants to decide. This difference defines who leads and who follows, who influences and who adapts. But awareness as a weapon is useless without discipline. You must resist the impulse to correct, to explain, to prove. These impulses come from insecurity, not strength. The need to demonstrate awareness is the clearest sign of lacking it. True awareness operates invisibly. Its effects are felt, not announced. When you stop treating awareness as something you are and start treating it as something you use, your position changes. People become cautious around you without knowing why. Conversations slow, challenges soften. This is not intimidation, it is uncertainty, and uncertainty forces deference. You are no longer participating equally, you are shaping the interaction. That is the function of awareness when wielded correctly, not to enlighten others, but to place yourself above the need to react.
Chapter 3. The 7 Awareness Archetypes. Awareness is not uniform, it manifests in predictable archetypes. Understanding these levels is critical because each archetype behaves differently under pressure, and each triggers different responses from those around them. Misreading archetypes is fatal to influence. Recognizing them, however, gives you the map to navigate social hierarchies and dominate outcomes silently. Archetype 1. The Oblivious. These individuals operate almost entirely on habit, impulse, or social cue. They're unaware of the larger patterns around them, easily manipulated, and constantly reactive. Their movements are loud and transparent, broadcasting weakness in every interaction. To the unaware, they appear confident, but this confidence is hollow. It collapses under minimal scrutiny. Archetype 2, the reactive. Slightly more aware, the reactive archetype notices discrepancies but cannot resist responding emotionally. They argue, over-explain, or seek validation. Their actions are predictable because their internal states dictate them. They create noise, unintentionally revealing their thresholds. These individuals are excellent examples of why restraint amplifies power. Archetype 3, the observer. Observers quietly note the environment, patterns, and behaviors without committing prematurely. They gather intelligence, but often lack the decisiveness to convert observation into action. Their awareness is growing, but not yet weaponized. Observers are dangerous in groups. Underestimated, they silently measure influence and risk. Archetype 4, the analyzer. Analyzers process patterns systematically. They anticipate reactions and calculate consequences. Their awareness is active, applied, and strategic. Unlike observers, analyzers make measured interventions to test boundaries or guide outcomes without revealing full understanding. They are respected but not feared because subtlety is invisible to those of lower awareness. Archetype 5, the silent strategist. This level represents mastery of restraint. Silent strategists control perception, influence decisions indirectly, and act only when outcomes are maximally favorable. They never explain, justify, or overcommit. Silence and timing amplify their authority. To those below, they appear omniscient. To those above, they are barely noticed, respected only if their influence alters outcomes. Archetype 6, the controlled predator. At this stage, awareness becomes active dominance. Controlled predators manipulate interactions, extract value, and enforce hierarchy. They understand human weakness intimately, leveraging it without exposure. Their presence alone creates caution, uncertainty, and respect. They are invisible forces shaping the environment, rarely challenged because challenge carries risk. Archetype 7, the untouchable. The apex archetype. Untouchables have fused awareness with identity. They operate beyond conventional influence and social expectation. Their movements are deliberate, untraceable, and untouchable. Others rarely perceive their presence until consequences appear. They exist above competition, decision-making, and chaos. Respect is assumed, compliance is natural, and resistance is punished by inaction rather than confrontation. Understanding these archetypes allows you to map yourself and others accurately. Every social interaction becomes a game of recognition and positioning. Misidentifying an archetype means misallocating effort, overreacting, or exposing vulnerability. Identifying archetypes allows control without confrontation. You know when to speak, when to act, and when to remain silent. Hierarchy is not merely about awareness, it is about knowing which archetypes dominate which scenarios. Each level carries intrinsic social weight. Lower archetypes must expend energy to compete. Higher archetypes expend energy to observe, adjust, and dominate. Your goal is not to impress everyone, it is to ascend archetypes strategically, using each interaction to consolidate your position, extract compliance, and minimize exposure. Recognition of these 7 archetypes is the blueprint for silent power. With this knowledge, you no longer operate blindly, you anticipate, position, and execute with precision. Your confidence is no longer assumed, it is backed by the tactical understanding of everyone else's awareness. And this is how hierarchy enforces itself, not through force, but through perceptual control. Chapter 4. How higher awareness controls lower awareness. Hierarchy is not theoretical, it is enforced every day through subtle domination. Those with higher awareness control outcomes effortlessly because they perceive patterns, intentions, and weaknesses before the lower tiers even know they exist. Control is never about aggression, it is about positioning, restraint, and anticipation. The moment you act without full awareness, you surrender leverage. Those above exploit that, often invisibly. The lower awareness archetypes, oblivious and reactive, are the easiest to influence.
Their impulses, emotions, and need for validation make them predictable. Higher awareness individuals manipulate these patterns silently, guiding decisions and shaping perception without overt confrontation. Consider a meeting or a negotiation. The loudest voices, the ones reacting quickest, are often less aware. They expend energy, broadcast intent, and reveal limits. The quiet observer, the analyzer, the strategist, these are the ones pulling threads behind the scenes, unnoticed yet omnipresent. Control occurs in small, deliberate actions. A pause before speaking.
Chapter 3. The 7 Awareness Archetypes. Awareness is not uniform, it manifests in predictable archetypes. Understanding these levels is critical because each archetype behaves differently under pressure, and each triggers different responses from those around them. Misreading archetypes is fatal to influence. Recognizing them, however, gives you the map to navigate social hierarchies and dominate outcomes silently. Archetype 1. The Oblivious. These individuals operate almost entirely on habit, impulse, or social cue. They're unaware of the larger patterns around them, easily manipulated, and constantly reactive. Their movements are loud and transparent, broadcasting weakness in every interaction. To the unaware, they appear confident, but this confidence is hollow. It collapses under minimal scrutiny. Archetype 2. The Reactive. Slightly more aware, the reactive archetype notices discrepancies but cannot resist responding emotionally. They argue, over-explain, or seek validation. Their actions are predictable because their internal states dictate them. They create noise, unintentionally revealing their thresholds. These individuals are excellent examples of why restraint amplifies power. Archetype 3. The Observer. Observers quietly note the environment, patterns, and behaviors without committing prematurely. They gather intelligence, but often lack the decisiveness to convert observation into action. Their awareness is growing, but not yet weaponized. Observers are dangerous in groups. Underestimated, they silently measure influence and risk. Archetype 4. The Analyzer. Analyzers process patterns systematically. They anticipate reactions and calculate consequences. Their awareness is active, applied, and strategic. Unlike observers, analyzers make measured interventions to test boundaries or guide outcomes without revealing full understanding. They are respected but not feared because subtlety is invisible to those of lower awareness. Archetype 5. The Silent Strategist. This level represents mastery of restraint. Silent strategists control perception, influence decisions indirectly, and act only when outcomes are maximally favorable. They never explain, justify, or overcommit. Silence and timing amplify their authority. To those below, they appear omniscient. To those above, they are barely noticed, respected only if their influence alters outcomes. Archetype 6. The Controlled Predator. At this stage, awareness becomes active dominance. Controlled predators manipulate interactions, extract value, and enforce hierarchy. They understand human weakness intimately, leveraging it without exposure. Their presence alone creates caution, uncertainty, and respect. They are invisible forces shaping the environment, rarely challenged because challenge carries risk. Archetype 7. The Untouchable. The Apex Archetype. Untouchables have fused awareness with identity. They operate beyond conventional influence and social expectation. Their movements are deliberate, untraceable, and untouchable. Others rarely perceive their presence until consequences appear. They exist above competition, decision-making, and chaos. Respect is assumed, compliance is natural, and resistance is punished by inaction rather than confrontation. Understanding these archetypes allows you to map yourself and others accurately. Every social interaction becomes a game of recognition and positioning. Misidentifying an archetype means misallocating effort, overreacting, or exposing vulnerability. Identifying archetypes allows control without confrontation. You know when to speak, when to act, and when to remain silent. Hierarchy is not merely about awareness, it is about knowing which archetypes dominate which scenarios.
Each level carries intrinsic social weight. Lower archetypes must expend energy to compete. Higher archetypes expend energy to observe, adjust, and dominate. Your goal is not to impress everyone. It is to ascend archetypes strategically, using each interaction to consolidate your position. Chapter 5. Strategic Ascension. Moving up the hierarchy. Ascending the hierarchy of awareness is not about ambition, luck, or aggression. It is about precision, timing, and controlled self-positioning. Most people attempt to rise through effort alone, loud displays of intelligence, or constant validation. These approaches backfire because the lower tiers are designed to react to noise, not discern substance. True ascension is subtle, tactical, and invisible to those beneath you and beside you until it is complete. The first rule of strategic ascension is observation without reaction. Every interaction is data. Each gesture, tone, and hesitation reveals priorities, insecurities, and thresholds. Most people act on impulse, arguing, over-explaining, or seeking approval. They reveal patterns. You memorize them. You do not need to challenge every move, correct every error, or prove superiority at every turn. That is exposure. Influence grows quietly, without announcement. Next is selective action. Timing determines dominance. Speak when it matters, act when consequences are maximized, and intervene only when it shifts the balance in your favor. Every premature reaction diminishes power. Waiting is not weakness, it is strategic patience, the hallmark of higher awareness. Others expend energy reacting to every stimulus. You conserve yours, deploying it surgically. Third, understand social leverage. Hierarchy is maintained through perceived scarcity. Your attention, approval, and response are commodities. Do not distribute them freely. Allow others to seek you, guess your limits, and anticipate your engagement. The invisible tension this creates elevates your status without confrontation. People comply not because they fear punishment, but because they value access to someone who moves silently yet decisively. Fourth, align identity with rank. Ascension is not only behavioral, it is psychological. Begin thinking, acting, and perceiving from the level above your current position. This shift rewires responses and recalibrates interactions. When your identity signals higher awareness, even those unaware perceive it subconsciously. They adjust, defer, and follow without recognizing the source of authority. False confidence fails, but disciplined projection of presence does not. Fifth, practice controlled detachment. The higher you ascend, the less you need to justify, explain, or compete. The lower tiers are busy proving themselves. You are busy positioning yourself. Emotional detachment is not apathy, it is armor. It prevents manipulation, preserves clarity, and projects mastery. When others are frantic, reactive, or desperate, your calm decisiveness signals power silently and effectively. Finally, incremental dominance compounds. Small, deliberate victories, winning subtle arguments, influencing decisions without overt intervention, gaining silent respect, accumulate leverage. Awareness builds leverage over time. Each interaction is an opportunity to test boundaries, extract compliance, and reinforce rank. Those who miscalculate or overreach reveal themselves to be manipulatable, while the disciplined ascend unnoticed yet unchallenged. Strategic ascension is a game of perception, restraint, and calculated presence. It does not require confrontation, verbal dominance, or displays of intelligence. It demands patience, observation, and an unwavering understanding of hierarchy. Master this, and influence flows naturally. Fail, and your energy is wasted, your moves misread, and your ascent stalled or reversed. Ascension is not about being recognized immediately. It is about structuring interactions so that recognition becomes inevitable, forcing others to defer or comply before they even understand why. This is the silent law of hierarchy. Influence is granted by those who are unaware they are granting it. Chapter 6. Identity Death, Leaving the Lower Levels Behind. True ascension requires a brutal step most refuse to take, the death of your old identity. The person you were, reactive, needy, insecure, or validation-seeking, cannot coexist with higher awareness. To operate at the apex, you must eliminate patterns, habits, and beliefs that tie you to lower hierarchies. This is not metaphorical. It is strategic, surgical, and non-negotiable. The first act of identity death is denying old impulses. Every need to explain, justify, or prove yourself is a tether to inferiority. Those impulses are loud, visible, and exploitable. You must learn to sit in silence while others argue, overreact, or seek validation. Where others broadcast weakness, you conceal strength. Restraint becomes a shield. Patience becomes a weapon. Your former self would have argued or displayed emotion. The new self observes, calculates, and positions without exposure. Next, destroy the reliance on external approval. Those stuck in lower awareness constantly seek confirmation from peers, authority figures, or society at large. Approval is a leash. The untethered individual no longer requires it. When others try to manipulate through praise, criticism, or social pressure, the untethered individual remains unaffected. Respect is not requested, it is commanded through presence and precision. This detachment transforms interactions. People adjust instinctively to the higher identity without overt coercion. Third, refine perception and decision-making. Your old identity responded impulsively. The new identity anticipates outcomes. Each decision is intentional. Mistakes are minimized because actions are measured against hierarchy, leverage, and long-term positioning. The lower self acted reactively, swayed by emotion or appearance. The higher self acts proactively, shaping situations before they solidify and leaving others reacting to your moves. Fourth, curate associations and environments. Identity death requires leaving behind influences that reinforce weakness. Friends, colleagues, or routines that promote mediocrity, distraction, or dependence must be quietly severed or minimized. Your world becomes a controlled space where awareness can operate freely, decisions remain unchallenged, and influence accumulates unobstructed. This is not social cruelty, it is survival at higher levels. Finally, adopt the demeanor of inevitability. Movement, posture, speech, and presence signal that you are no longer subject to previous rules. You are untouchable because you have left behind predictable vulnerabilities. Others instinctively sense this shift, even if they cannot articulate it. They comply, defer, and hesitate. Your old self would have flinched or sought permission. The new self commands through quiet assurance. Finally, integrate the principles of strategic silence and observation. Identity death is not merely abandoning the lower self, it is replacing it with a higher archetype that embodies patience, calculation, and control. Words are minimal, actions are precise, and intentions are invisible. Influence flows naturally because the environment adapts to your presence without realizing it. Your ascension becomes a force of nature, silent, deliberate, and unstoppable. This chapter is the culmination of hierarchy mastery. Without identity death, all previous strategies, observation, selective action, and silent dominance are limited. The lower self sabotages progress through need, exposure, and emotional leakage. Eliminating it ensures that your hierarchy is internalized, not borrowed, not imposed, but intrinsic. You do not simply navigate the hierarchy, you define it. Chapter 7. Final Warning. This is the point where most people fail. Recognition of the stakes. Hierarchy is not forgiving. Those who refuse to evolve remain trapped, predictable, and expendable. The lesson is simple but brutal. Self-awareness without action is impotence. All the strategies, all the observations, all the archetypes you've studied mean nothing if you do not commit to dominance, silence, and identity transformation. The final warning is direct. Continue as you are, and the world will erase you. Mediocrity, impulsiveness, and neediness attract exploitation. The oblivious are the first to be manipulated, the reactive are the first to be consumed, and the observer who hesitates is the first to be outmaneuvered. Every choice you fail to control is a silent concession of your place beneath others. Time does not forgive. Influence does not wait. The hierarchy of awareness is relentless. It rewards precision and punishes hesitation. But there is a path forward. You can choose to internalize the laws of silent power, observe without reacting, act with precision, and shed the old identity that binds you to mediocrity. Strategic silence, controlled detachment, and the calculated deployment of awareness are not optional. They are the currency of dominance. To the uninitiated, these methods may seem harsh or unnatural. That is precisely the point. Elite status is rarely comfortable. It is earned by discipline, invisibility,
and mental fortitude. Committing to this path requires a ruthless examination of your habits, associations, and impulses. Question every reaction. Does it serve your hierarchy, or does it signal weakness? Evaluate every interaction. Are you influencing or being influenced? Determine which parts of your identity must die and eliminate them with surgical precision. This is not psychological fluff. This is operational dominance. The elite do not announce themselves. They do not explain, justify, or plead. They are recognized by their absence of exposure and the inevitability of their influence. When you embrace this truth, the world begins to bend quietly around your actions. Power is not shouted, it is perceived. Authority is not demanded, it is assumed. Influence is not granted, it is internalized. Your CTA, if you choose to accept it, is not to follow anyone else's path. It is to apply these principles relentlessly, day by day, moment by moment. Begin by observing, pausing before action, eliminating unnecessary explanations, and projecting the identity of someone untouchable. Every calculated choice elevates your position, and every restraint consolidates your dominance. The hierarchy is always present. It is your responsibility to inhabit it. This chapter is not motivational, it is a verdict. The difference between the elite and the masses is decision, discipline, and identity transformation. The world will continue moving, indifferent to your existence. Your leverage, your silence, your awareness are the only shields and weapons you possess. Misuse them, and you remain one step below. Master them, and the hierarchy becomes your landscape, your playground, and your fortress. The final truth: respect is not given, power is not negotiated, and survival is never guaranteed. Choose to ascend or accept erasure. There is no middle ground. Your move determines everything.